I'd like to be remembered as a conservative and not a socialist.
As being loyal to my country and to have served my country.
That I had a family growing up that amounted to something.
As a super dad.
A man that did a good job wherever he went.
I guess I'd like to be remembered for, I have a belief if I can put a smile on someone else's face with my stories, it's a good reason why the good Lord should leave me on earth another day.
The way that I am.
That I always had a smile on my face.
Curtis Wilkinson, U.S. Naval Reserve.
Edward I. Eisler, Army Air Corps, Air Force, and Army.
I am Bill Danner. I was with the U.S. Army. I was a member of the 104th Infantry Division in Europe in World War II.
Irene Marshall Martin, El Paso, Texas. I was in the Air Corps, the 1st Troop Carrier Command, Indianapolis, Indiana.
My name is Jose Herndon Jr.
Marlo Vardaman, also known as Hap Vardaman, United States Marine Corps.
The first 16 years of my life were pretty dismal, but to get away from that, I joined the Navy when I was 16 years old through misrepresentation and altered birth certificates and so forth. And it was the turning point in my life, because that was the first time in my lifetime that I had dealt with honorable men and men of character and integrity. There wasn't many women at that point in time, but certainly I respect them as well. And today, I respect this group of men assembled more than anyone can imagine, because I was not in any danger. My service was at the end of the Second World War, but these men here all gave of something else. They faced wounded, many of them have been wounded, and they are the ones that I recognize today. But secondarily, I thank the Navy for turning my life around and giving me an education and a pretty successful life. The Lord has blessed me very, very richly in my lifetime with a family that's marvelous. And so today, I mostly honor these men assembled, but at the same time, I give thanks to the United States Navy for making something of my life, and my life has been good.
It was good to get off that airplane and see all these people cheering you on. Very nice.
Well, first of all, we had the fire department gave us a heck of a welcome, and that was, from that moment on, it was very enjoyable. We landed, they were there waiting for us. Everywhere we've been, people have been waiting, and that's what's rewarding to us.
Oh, it was fantastic. I couldn't have imagined anything of that nature. Just everybody made you feel so good. I just felt compelled to salute every one of them.
It was wonderful. There was two things happened to me that day that I thought were great. The first was the assembling of the Fort Bliss Army soldiers that helped us with our baggage, and the second was the group that met us in Baltimore cheering us on as we come down the ramp. That on Monday was the two most important things that I saw, and I thank God for both of them.
I was amazed. I mean, unbelievable. I did not see it in the paper that way, and to me it was a big thrill.
Very impressive. I guess kind of shed a tear or two.
I almost cried, you know.
We go.
the World War II Memorial was my favorite. I had not seen it. I had seen most of the others, but that was mind-boggling to see it, and found myself with tears several times just reading what different famous people had said. I really enjoyed it.
The statements made by the presidents and all that, they have them up there on the pillars. President Eisenhower and President Truman, and those are the most important things for me that I saw. They were very well. It just made me cringe. I mean, I was so proud of the way they talked about us.
World War II Memorial is really great. It's just so open, it's so informative. Where the others are so limited, the Korean Memorial is small. It should be more in detail. The Vietnam Memorial is even smaller. It's just one statue, it's still not the, it was not the way it should be, like they did the World War II Memorial. It was very detailed. The other ones are not detailed enough.
As a tabulator machine operator, I think I'm in the right department here. Anyway, we recorded the name and the numbers on key punch, which is actually the grandfather of the computers, and run those to these different machines. There's usually about 3 machines before you got the main name, which had their occupation and what camp they were from. And then they were pulled out in case that's what they wanted to go overseas. And we were forbidden to speak about anything we had done during the day, but we had plenty to talk about at night of our own selves when we were in the barracks. And this was top secret, the whole thing. Previously, I had been working in the defense plant, working in woodworking and sheet metal for Cessna aircraft. Before that, I was a country school teacher with a 3-year state certificate from the state of Kansas, 1 room. And eventually, that looked a little more promising to get more money in the defense plant, so I canceled all of that and started to work at the defense plant for 2 years. And as I was using the rivet gun, I got a little tired of carrying that heavy rivet gun, and one day I went down and applied for the Air Force. And that was the story of my life, the Air Force. And when the war ended, we had our choice. They could not send us overseas at that time unless they had permission from us. And I preferred to go back home. And I went and finished and got my degree in fine arts and silversmithing. I grew up in a place where there was no money, there was nothing in home. The only thing logical was to get a good job and save money. I had no desire of getting married. I was popular, I had nice boyfriends, so forth, but I wanted my own money. Maybe that was selfish, and that was my goal at that time.
So I told him what the damages were, and he said, I gotta go see. So I said, okay, what's the heading? He said, the only thing is the compass. That's the heading. And he laughed. And oh, I got to, we made it back to our home base.
Where are we at?
Grataglia, Italy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
not far from where
we made it back from
in
Yugoslavia to Grataglia, and of course we made a pass over the airfield, and I got out the flare gun and shot a double flare. I mean, I have a radio, he does, you know, and I needed a single red flare because a double red flare meant that you had wounded on board. But we didn't have it. got the flaps down on emergency hydraulic system. Yeah. Free fall the gear. I had to go down the nose wheel and with a screwdriver and pry the up block and kick it down. And I got covered with hydraulic fluid. And so we got on the ground. Of course, we didn't have any brakes. Hydraulic system gone.
But nobody in the way said jump out the parachutes, huh?
No. No.
No.
My name is Benny J. Tomlinson. I was born in Texas, drafted in the Army in 50 to 52. And my job was several jobs in the Army in Korea, mostly infantry, like these guys here.
Okay.
I served my time in Korea in reserve, 5-year inactive reserve.
My name is Pat Ayler. I am the daughter, I'm speaking on behalf of my father, Daniel Lopez, and he was a Korean War veteran. Today was very healing for my father. We were at the Korean War memorial, and this woman comes up to my dad. She's Korean. Turns out she's Korean. Yeah, she comes up to my dad and she says, "Sir, were you in the Korean War?" Because he was wearing his Korean War hat and cap, and he says, "Yes, I was." And she says, "What year were you there?" And she says, he says, "I was there in 1952. And she says, "I was 9 years old." And she hugged him. She just wrapped her arms around him, gave him a big kiss and hugged him and said, "Because of you, you gave my country a chance that we wouldn't have ever had, because the Japanese totally tore our culture apart. They only allowed us to speak Japanese." She said, "I found out that I had a talent for music, and I was a professional cello player. And I wouldn't have ever known that had it not been for you all coming in and giving me that opportunity." So after the war was over, we were finally developing, we were getting aid, and I found I had a talent for cello. Under Japanese occupation, we wouldn't have ever had that, and certainly under communist occupation, we would have never had that opportunity. She said, "I found out I had a talent for playing the cello." And so I finished, she said, I finished my bachelor's in music, and then I had the opportunity to get a scholarship to go to France to get a master's in fine arts. And so then when I finished there, I got a call from a German conductor that was with the Kansas Philharmonic, and said that they had heard about me and they wanted me to go play in their Philharmonic Symphony Orchestra. And I retired out of them after 27 years. And she said, "And I couldn't have ever had that opportunity had it not been for you." So, and friends like your friend Isaac. So that was just such, so she says, "You know, we're one of the wealthiest countries now." She said, we were one of the poorest countries before you guys came in. And we were receiving, during the war, we had to receive aid because we were so poor. And now, we're so wealthy, we're actually giving aid out to countries, and we couldn't have done that without you. And she said North Korea is still under communist oppression, and South Korea is free to practice any religion that they want. And she said, you have just totally transformed lives that you will never ever know that you've transformed lives. So the losses were not in vain. So anyway, I just thought that was, just wanted to share that.
I got to talking to a speaker, and when I heard that there was like, I asked him how many names were up there, and if I remember right, I think he said it was 38,299 names on that Vietnam wall. That was a shocker for me.
Did Ignacio serve with you?
He was one of my buddies. I met three of them in Korea. Then Nacho, he went to the army. That was in Vietnam afterwards. And I'm the only survivor.
I'm glad you could be here to honor him today.
It was eight of us. We used to hang around together. And when the Korean War broke out, they were a little older than me, so they all joined voluntarily. And I was only 17, and that was in this was in 52. So I didn't want to stay behind, that's why I kept on pestering my mother, for her to sign the papers for me. And finally she relented and she signed them. So I went and joined the Air Force. And joined as an enlisted man. And I had my former squadron commander that he believed that I was officer material. And he said he was a major. And he had a wing commander, which was a friend of his, was a full colonel. And he said that if I wanted to, that I could give it a try, and he would get the paperwork for me to go to cadet training. So I said, well, why not? What the heck? I have nothing to lose. So I went over and he sent the letters to his friend, and from there on they sent him in. So within a week, I was flown to Kellyfield, Texas, from Kelly back to Lackland, to get basic training again. From Lackland over to Kellyfield to get my pilot training as a cadet. So I finished it, and luckily I got stationed back with my old squadron, and my old Major McAdams was his name, and he treated me like his son. He always called me son. So he gave me one of his second lieutenant bars that he had, and I still have it up to these years. And I was sent to Korea. I spent 18 months over there, and during that time, I was flying F-86 Sabres, and things that happened and all that. I got shot down twice. And the second time that I got shot down, I got put in the hospital for 3.5 months because I broke my jaw, messed up my left eye, my arm, and my leg, and like I said, broke my jaw. So I had my jaw wired for 3 months. And by the time I was ready to recover, they wanted to award me the Purple Heart, but I refused it because I wanted to go back with my squadron. And they told me that if I did, I was pardon my French, stupid. But I said, well, so I want to go back with my unit, so I did, and I didn't get the Purple Heart, which I don't miss it.
I'm Alice Schroeder. I'm from El Paso, Texas, and I joined the Navy on March 2nd, 1945, and I trained in Hunter College in New York, and after the 8 weeks, 12 weeks, I was transferred down to Washington, D.C., and I spent 2 years here in Washington, and I can tell you, I'm amazed of what we have today. But the reason why, one of the reasons why I'm here today, is I brought my brothers with me. They couldn't come. They're in heaven already. And these are my 3 brothers. The oldest one was in England, and he was on a B-19, and he was a master sergeant, and he flew 30 minutes. Thank God he had a praying mother, and he came home. This other one was in parachute training. He was too young to see combat. It was over. But he spent, I think it was over a year. And then this other one was in Japan in occupation. So we are a family of service people. When I turned 18, and the war was beginning already, and the WACs were, and I thought, well, I'd like to get into the WACs and learn to be a nurse. Well, my family would not sign for me. So when I turned 21, a week later, I went into downtown Los Angeles, went to the recruiting office. And so I filled out all the forms, and then they told me, well, we don't have a compliment going out recently. We don't know. So we'll call you. So I lived in Cucamonga at the time, and I'm sure many of you remember Cucamonga. So anyhow, which is in California. So anyhow, it was in the latter part of February, I got a call, and they said, come in on March 2nd. And I brought my friend with me, and she was interested. And they told me, will you come back about 4 o'clock in the afternoon? I came back, there were 3 other girls there, and then we waited about a half an hour. This is a Friday afternoon now, about 5 o'clock. And the officer, wave officer came out. She says, oh, good afternoon, jolly, welcome, and blah, blah, blah. And she says, well, we got a compliment going out on Sunday afternoon. Will you be ready to go? And now I had to go home and tell my folks what I did. So I told my mother Saturday morning. She cried the rest of the day. But on Sunday, about 1 o'clock, they took me down to this train station in Ontario, California. And they all kissed me goodbye, and they loved me. So it was a great, and I just loved the Navy. I'd do it again if I was given enough.
I joined with my friend.
It's okay, take your time.
Isaac del Toro, and he was always after me, you know. I had a lot of fun with him. He was a very good guy, and I really miss him. He had his girlfriend in El Paso, and a lovely story that about 60 years ago, I was sitting down at the mall. My wife went shopping, and I was sitting down in the mall, and this lady walked by, and then she came back, and she asked me, she says, "Aren't you Danny Lopez?" I said, "Yes, I am." And she asked me, "Do you know who I am?" I said, "No, I don't." She says, I was Isaac's girlfriend." I couldn't recognize her. So we hugged and we cried. Coming over here, I brought him with me, you know, and that gives me a lot of satisfaction. Gives me more strength, you know, and because I always think about him every day. But about a week ago, I met his sister for the first time, and it was a very good reunion, very good. It made me feel different about the way I felt about losing him, you know. I felt different now. I have a better sense of looking at things, you know, not thinking about him, you know. War is ugly.
Well, when I first heard about it, I thought it was a very good thing. In fact, I'm at loss for words right now. General Vaught is charged of this. She came to El Paso one time, and I was very impressed with what she said. And it sounded like a good thing, particularly not for what I had done, but I think of many of the other ones, like nurses and so forth, that they should be honored. To me, I never felt like I was under strained to be in the Army. I liked it personally. That was one of my best years of my life.
I liked the changing of the guard. That showed there was discipline showed there. Those boys went through some training to be able to be that sharp for that long a time. Yes, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? I am Sergeant Calloway of the 3rd Infantry Regiment, United States Army. Guard of honor to the unknown soldier. The ceremony that you are about to witness is the changing of the guard. In keeping with the dignity of this ceremony, it is requested that everyone, remain silent and standing. Thank you. Up, shoulder, up. Forward, touch. Guard, halt. Forward, march. Guards, halt. 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 Ready, hey. Reset, on. Port, on. Ready, hey. Act on your order.
Post and orders. Remain as directed. Orders. Acknowledged.
Ready, hey. Reason, on. Right shoulder. Arm. Pose. Right. Legs. Forward. March.
Well, when I was 18 and a half years old, I waited because my oldest brother had been drafted into the into the anti-aircraft, and he went all the way in Europe with General Patton. So I waited anyway, and my next brother down, who was William Bradford Wilbur, he enlisted in the Marine Corps. He enlisted in the Marine Corps. He was in for 4 years and came out a technical sergeant, and he was handling the bombs over in New Bern, North Carolina. And then myself, as I say, I was working for a lumber company who was a neighbor of ours in Worcester, Massachusetts, and I just waited to be drafted. So I was drafted into the Air Corps, as it says there, at Fort Devens, Massachusetts. And I say drafted into it because when I went there was the 5 groups, as there was, you know, the Army, the Air Corps, the Navy, the Marines, and the Coast Guard. When I arrived there, well, there was a sergeant, so he called my name and he said, Wilbur, you go in Group B. So I went to Group B. And luckily, who comes walking out to take charge of us was a sergeant that had an Air Force patch on his shoulder. So that's how I was drafted into the Air Corps at the time. And then, as you said, I went down to Miami Beach, Florida, and from there and so forth. So that's how, at the age that I got into the Air Corps and the Air Force.